What if your home gets destroyed and you can't go back? Today, we're going to be talking about a lot of examples, especially what has happened in Alaska with the typhoons, where entire homes and villages have been wiped out. 1,500 people have been displaced. What would you do in that scenario? Alaska is not the only example, so let's talk about it. Hey everyone, Morgan here. As I talk, I'm going to be making a tincture down here, so let's get to it. This specific tincture is actually for one of my kids, so I'm using glycerin instead of alcohol. And hey, if you want to learn skills just like this and join a community of people, come join my Patreon, where we're going to be talking about one specific skill every month, step by step, so that you can not only learn skills, but you can practice them every single month. You really have no excuse when you join the Patreon. So link down below in the description, or this QR code, which is somewhere around here, or hopefully the pinned comment. A disaster doesn't always mean a quick return. And most people say, well, I'm never leaving my home. Yes, well, isn't that a nice thought? You know, in most scenarios, I probably don't have to leave my home, but there are many scenarios like this typhoon, like the Rolling Fork tornado, where the city was literally torn apart. Wildfires can destroy homes. Hurricane survivors will attest that even if your whole home isn't destroyed, maybe the power lines are destroyed, or maybe it's just too dangerous around your home. Lots of reasons why you may not even be able to return to your home for weeks, maybe months sometimes. We're not talking about scenarios in which you're like, hey, let's go run off into the woods because we think it's some apocalypse. No, these are real scenarios that people are getting really, truly affected by it. But listen, the preps that I'm going to be talking about today are inclusive for everyone at any climate, low cost. Regardless of where you are, you can do these preps. So the very first thing that I want you to do is get an emergency disaster plan. I have an emergency disaster plan down below to where you literally just fill stuff out. There's no guessing about what to put in the emergency disaster plan. You just follow it and you go, okay, this is what we need to do, and do it, okay? Just do it. Sit down with your family, take a week to get it accomplished, whatever you gotta do. Make that emergency disaster plan. This is where it all comes. But Morgan, where do I go? That's where your emergency disaster plan is gonna tell you. But Morgan, how are we gonna communicate? That's what your emergency disaster plan is going to tell you. But Morgan, what are our meeting points? What would I even do? What about evacuation routes? That's what your emergency disaster plan is going to tell you. Do you see some kind of theme here? So just go download that emergency disaster plan template. It'll save you time and frustration, and then you'll have a plan in place. I'm doing 3 parts glycerin to 1 part water. And it's distilled water. You really want to make sure it's distilled water. So you're going to have layered kits. So of course you're going to have your 72-hour kit. That is something that you're going to take with you, you're going to have with you, all that good stuff, okay? But then you might have like a flex kit. Like this might be an actual bin, like something that you're going to put in the back of your vehicle, and you might have it, you know, or like a bucket or a bin or something like that, to where it has a little bit more stuff, maybe like a little bit more food, a little bit more water, so where you're going to hoist that into the back of your vehicle along with your 72-hour kit. So you have a layers of stuff. And then you might have a displacement kit where, again, it could be just another bucket with just like more stuff in it, like more durable stuff. Like maybe there's a tent in this one with some like tools, or like a little bit of cash or something else, you know, some other things to help you get through a longer period of time. When it comes to long-term displacement, everybody wants to rely on the government or FEMA coming in and saving us. That just may not happen, okay? And even if it does, some people I heard were waiting 6 months or more to see a penny from FEMA. And in a lot of cases, people just didn't qualify. And in some cases, insurance don't pay out for one reason or another. People are always trying to get out of paying for, you know, your insurance that you pay for, okay, that you thought you were paying for, you know, for protection of your home when the hurricane or wildfires or whatever. And then, you know, where FEMA, hopefully, you know, you put in a claim with FEMA and they can hopefully come through, but sometimes it's many, many, many months, sometimes not at all. So having a financial plan in place is also extremely important. You should still, of course, you're going to probably still have your job, or if you have a remote job or multiple streams of income, like I've talked about in the past, and hopefully you have a little bit of a savings to help you get through as well. The emergency disaster plan that I talked about before is going to tell you where you're going to go. So you should have at least a few options, not just one, at least 3 options. Talk to friends and family out of the city or state even, and say, hey, if this were to happen, could we stay with you for a few days while we get our feet on, while we get back on our feet? Maybe you can, maybe there's another solution in place. I don't know. A lot of people look to a tent or something like that. If you have an RV, like we have an RV, we would be able to get our RV and live in that for a short period of time. It's very, very small, but we'd be able to do it. It's something. And I know that some of these things are more costly, but staying in a tent on a pad is a little bit cheaper than, staying in a hotel or something like that. Or maybe, you could only stay in a hotel for a couple days. Sometimes insurances might cover a hotel for a couple days, but you want to call your insurance and get to know that ahead of time. You want to make sure you have the physical maps, and the emergency disaster plan is going to talk about that, but you want to have the physical maps to those places along with evacuation routes as well. Of course, make sure that you have plenty of over-the-counter medications and prescription medications, especially like if you're displaced and you're not going to be near your pharmacy for a while or something. You can always call and get things, transferred to other pharmacies and things like that. But, maybe there's a delay in it or whatever, try to have at least like 30-day supply of that stuff. And, let's be real, this whole situation of being displaced for a long period of time, it's going to be grueling, okay? You want the community of support. In the case of this typhoon that happened in Alaska, they're not going to be able to repair before winter, but they do have a very strong community. And as much as this it really breaks my heart for them. And it breaks my heart for anybody that's displaced from their home for any reason. And, I just want to make it aware that this can really happen to anyone. It could be maybe, your house was flooded. The Texas floods just came through and ruined people's homes, and they were displaced for a long time. They still are. They're still doing cleanup in Kerrville. So it's crazy. And want to make sure that you're keeping your morale up. Have some games and some photos and emotional support. Have those in your kits. It's extremely important for you and your kids, your family, your pets, whoever is coming with you. Nobody wants to think about evacuating or bugging out. They all just say, I'm going to stay in my home and that's it, right? But you got to have these plans because you just never know what's going to happen. And the mere idea of being displaced from your home, your comfort, your security absolutely sucks. It's just, there's no way around it. It sucks. But have comfort in the fact that you are getting prepared, you are being prepared, and you have forethought now to get prepared and stay prepared. I hope you've all taken this into consideration and how it might affect you and how you can be prepared today. Be sure to download that and join my Prepper Skill of the Month Club over at Patreon. Woo! Thank you all so much for watching Conquer Tomorrow by Preparing Today. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.